Hey everybody. I just finished another book in the original Goosebumps series. This is My Best Friend is Invisible. Start off with this cover. I've always thought this cover was really goofy, but also kind of fun. So let me start by saying I remember reading this book when I was like maybe 10 or 11 years old. I remember reading it on the school bus, and I remember reading it in one of our reading classes. Like I remember pulling it out and reading it. And I remember not loving the book itself up until the end. I remember the ending of this book really, really threw me for a loop, and I thought it was just really cool. But let me start by saying I didn't understand the ending. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but there's two twists towards the end of this book, and as a kid, the first one I understood, but then the second part of it was like, what? I don't get it. But yeah, it wasn't until years later I discovered this blog called Blogger Beware, and it was a guy that just reviewed all of the Goosebumps books, and it explained it, and I was like, oh, okay. So, well, you know. So yeah, I just finished this last night, and yeah, the story itself starts off with a Sammy Baker. He's sitting down, eating with his parents, and his parents are ignoring him. They're working on this thing that they're creating. They're scientists, and they're trying to create this thing. I forgot what it's called, but it's something to do with like seeing particles that you can't see with the naked eye. And yeah, Sammy's into science fiction. He likes ghost stories and different things like that. And his parents tell him, no, you need to, study stuff that are more plausible and more real and different things like that. Sammy goes upstairs to do something, and his window's open. He thinks it's kind of weird, so he closes his window. He goes back downstairs, and you notice his cereal is gone. Like he poured him a bowl of cereal, and it's gone. He blames his brother. His name's Simon. Simon isn't even in the room with him. So he goes back upstairs, and he has a cat named Brutus. That's the cat on the front cover. I didn't know the cat's name until now. But the cat starts acting weird and runs out of his room, and the window's open again. So, yeah, weird things are starting to happen. One day after school, he comes home, and well, another thing that happens before he leaves is somebody trips him, and he looks around. There's nobody there. Um, he comes home from school one day, and he sees his room is just like in a disaster. It's got food all over the place and different things like that. And he's like, how am I going to clean this up? He hears a voice say, I'll help you clean it up. And, Sammy, of course, freaks out because he's like, there's somebody in here you can't see. And he introduces himself as Brent. Brent is invisible. Brent got turned invisible by his parents for unknown reasons and just sent to this place, or he ended up at Sammy's house. And he starts talking to him, trying to figure out more stuff about him. But Brent's very secretive, very shy. He just wants to be Sammy's friend. Roxanne, who is Sammy's actual visible friend, shows up, and Sammy tries to tell her, hey, there's a guy here that's invisible. I want you to meet him. And this goes about as smoothly as you would think. Um, she tries to talk to him about going to this haunted house that's down the road from their house called Hedge House. And Sammy just kind of ignores it because he's trying to tell her, there's an actual invisible person here. And this is some kind of science report project deal. And she gets mad because she thinks that he's ignoring um, her. And he keeps talking over her, telling her, about this invisible kid. So anyway, she ends up leaving, really mad. He goes to school the next day, and all of the kids are like talking to their selves and saying that they have like an invisible friend. And so Sammy thinks this is kind of weird, and until Roxanne shows up and she tells him it was a prank. So yeah, one of the more funny scenes in this book is Sammy sitting down, and Sammy raises his hand to go to the chalkboard to do a math problem. And the teacher says, yeah, you can come up here. Not you, Sammy, the guy next door to you. And he looks, and there's an empty desk there, and he's like, what? Turns out the teacher's bullying him too. So that's terrific. I actually really thought that was really, really funny. I know that's terrible, but yeah, it was really good. Yeah. Um, they end up going to they end up going to this Olympic thing like at their school, and Sammy and Roxanne are two of the fastest kids in school, and they don't want Sammy to lose. Brent pops up and tries to help lift Sammy to the finish line to carry him, and he ends up falling, and everybody gets even more mad at Sammy. So yeah, Brent is just ruining this kid's life. He this is terrible. So he wants him out. Brent refuses. He says that no, we're friends. We're not. I'm not leaving. And yeah, they end up going to Hedge House, and inside the Hedge House, they think there's a ghost there, and it turns out to be just Brent pulling a prank on Roxanne to kind of get Sammy back on his side. And yeah, they're back at the house, and nobody believes Sammy that this kid is, an invisible kid there, because all he has to do is, just not talk. So, yeah, Sammy figures out a way to show, who Sammy or who Brent really is, and yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that. I'm not gonna say much more. I'll start with saying that I thought that the way to discover who Brent is was really cool because it's only mentioned like twice in the whole story. Um, the ending I understood this time, so that's good. But I will say that there is a major plot hole in the ending, and I still liked it for what it was because it was just kind of an out of nowhere ending, and I tend to really like those, even if they don't make 100% sense. But yeah, my best friend is my best friend is my best friend is invisible. Is a really fun book. I thought it was really great. I remember as a kid thinking that parts of this book was boring, and it wasn't. Somehow or another, the Hedge House stuff was just not that great, and I don't understand that. Like because it's like a haunted house should have been really good. And there are some scenes in here that were just kind of thrown in, like the whole Olympic thing and the Hedge House thing was just random. Like it felt like it could have been in another book, not this one. Yeah, Brent's mostly like a slappy kind of character. He just goes in and just destroys things, and just a kid tries to tell his parents and they don't believe him. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed My Best Friend is Invisible. I thought it was really funny. I thought the mystery surrounding who Brent was really good, and I did like the ending, even though there was a big plot hole in that. Yeah, I'd probably give My Best Friend is Invisible about a 4 out of 5 stars. Yeah, it wasn't perfect, but I did really enjoy it. I actually liked it more than what I did as a kid because I actually, according to Goodreads, I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. Like I went through when I first discovered Goodreads and just rated all the Goosebumps books, and yeah, I looked and it was a 3. I gave it a 4, because I thought it was better than a 4. I mean, I really felt, you know, I felt the helplessness in Sammy's deal because it's like an invisible kid just, just popping up and doing all this stuff. But yeah, and nobody believing you. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, My Best Friend is Invisible. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Please let me know in the comments below what did you think about this book. I know a lot of people don't like this book, and that's fine. I understand it. But I really enjoyed it. So that's it for me, guys. Thank you. Bye bye.